There was one key flaw that the Comanches had, though, to their warring, which is their over-reliance on superstition. They would be winning battles. If they pushed forward, they would have, driven people out. They could have held on to it for another 100 years.
Yeah, we'd all be speaking Comanche.
We'd all be speaking Comanche. That's right.
Which also
we'd all be skinning hides.
We'd all be hunting the buffalo right now.
Yep.
We'd all be on the plains following our great food.
That sounds pretty fun. All right, welcome everyone to Overshadowed, the only podcast about the siblings and spouses of people who changed the world. Today, our guest is Mike Earley. Mike, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Today, we're talking about the Comanches, the Lord of the Plains, the Masters of the Horse, one of the last great indigenous empires of North America that beat back the French, the Mexicans, and the Texans trying to expand into their territory and delayed Manifest Destiny for 150 years.
No.
Yes.
Really?
150 years.
What
we
years?
couldn't get over there. 1700s to the 1860s.
Wow.
Yeah.
They controlled what part of the country?
It was called Comancheria, and it was Texas, Oklahoma. Do you know any other? It was mainly them,
it was
right?
kind of the plains area. It was like this weird blob. This weird little
Let me
circle.
look up a map of
there was
Comancheria right now.
Mexico, in between Mexico and the U.S. kind of taking over what is now the United States. There was this blob called Comancheria because they were so skilled.
Fierce.
Yeah, that they could fight everybody off.
Wasn't even a railroad that went through it?
No,
not
yet.
at
the time.
Not yet. And they couldn't lay tracks. That was the problem. And they didn't have enough enslaved Chinese either.
Enslaved Chinese?
I don't know if they were
You're blowing
enslaved.
my mind with all of this.
Oh, yeah. The Civil War was about the Chinese, right? And the states' rights to enslave them.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Wow. So they
ran things.
1850, they're like, they got kind of beaten.
They started to get beaten back around the 60s.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
After the Civil War, they were like, now to the Indians. They're like, let's get
Now that we're
everybody.
united. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's when the federal government was like, all right, we need to make a concerted push.
Yeah. Wow.
Afterwards. But before it was like Texans, because you know how Texas like still is like its own thing. I mean, they'd like to think so, but back then in like the 1830s, it really was.
Yeah.
Because they were these pioneering people just trying to get their own land. I think there were land grants. Like if you went out west, the government would give you some land if you staked a claim. But yeah, people had so much trouble with Comanche raids. Like it was brutal. And the way that they controlled Comancheria was with the horse and the bow.
Okay.
Which is kind of fun because the horses were brought over by the Spanish.
Yeah.
Horses are not indigenous to
correct.
to
Yes.
America. So it's pretty cool that they just like learned of the horses in, I don't know, the 16 or 1500s and then mastered them such that no one could compete with them for like over a century. So they had the horse, they had the bow, they could fire like 20 arrows in like 30 seconds.
Each?
Yeah,
they're super fast.
Yeah, it was crazy. They would be riding on the side of they would like Tokyo drift their horses. They would sling down to like the side of the
Really?
horse to
Oh my
dodge
gosh.
bullets
I
and
think
shit,
I've
and then back up.
Yeah.
Holy
It was
crap.
sweet. Yeah, John Wick.
Dodge bullets
situation.
while their horse takes 15 bullets.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
Yeah. The horse did not do super well. The horse is like, well, who do I slide on?
Luckily, they're already so close to the ground, they can just slightly fall as their horse topples.
As their horse becomes mincemeat.
Yeah.
They were big on it. Also, like once they learned of the horse, they tried to conquer every horse there ever was. They had so many. Yeah, they would go around and steal your horses.
Oh, right.
Because a lot of times they would terrorize people. They would just run up on them at night and scare all the opposing forces' horses. Fun to say out loud.
Opposing forces horses.
Opposing forces horses. So maybe sing that. Turn that into a song. And then all of those horses would be like, ah, and run away. And then the next morning they would chase after those horses and try and get them. Also, check this out for a fun fact. Within the Comanche Indians, there's a lot of different I think there's like 4 or 5 different sects.
Yeah, different bands.
Yeah, so there's different fun band to listen
One was
to,
punk,
Comanche.
one was indie folk.
Yeah, pop ska.
Ska.
Least
They were
least liked.
Yeah, they were a force to be reckoned with.
If you wanted to marry a daughter of a Comanche, you would present the father with a lot of horses, and if it was the correct amount of horses, you would get his consent.
Which is a lot of horses.
Lot of horses.
Nobody's saying, no,
Yeah.
you brought too many horses.
Also, it's got to be a bad
All
day.
these horses for my daughter?
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Also, I wonder if it affected your self-esteem if you brought like a little amount, and the dad was like,
Yeah.
So horses was their
She's got a pretty
status
fucked up
symbol.
face.
Yeah, horse was
Horse was wealth.
Yeah,
Horse was like the number of horses you had was like the number of gold bars you had.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It was hoof meme.
I think horses have retained their value over the centuries.
Now you can
With inflation?
I would think so.
I
I
think it's
bet.
I don't know.
one horse then was like 20 now.
If anything, it's gone up. I think a horse
probably
is
right.
more expensive
Yeah.
now than it was back then.
Well, today's different because the horse tariff went into effect. So the horse boards,
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, they're crashing.
Yeah.
They are.
Horse Street
We are
is
getting
freaking
fucked.
out.
Yeah.
Horse Street bets is going
Yeah.
wild. Yeah,
Horse-
no, you're probably right because the like show ponies and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That
I
were
think
like
if you just have a
bred
horse,
horses.
I think you could, even if it was not a special horse, you could probably
Sell it for what, like 10
I
grand?
think it's probably worth
A used
lot.
car.
Yeah, I
You could
think
probably trade one horse for a car that has like 100 horsepower.
100 horsepower.
How much
Is that
horsepower
a
do
lot?
horses?
I
do
forget.
cars
That's
have?
not a lot of horsepower. No.
Right? I thought
No.
that was a
That's not
modest
lot of-
amount. That's
no,
like a
it's not
Fiat,
good.
right?
I don't know any cars with 100 horsepower.
Well, you got to make.
I
I
don't
think
know.
100
Broaden
is
your
pretty
frame rate.
bad.
I don't know. I'd feel stupid if
Yeah.
I said anything.
What's a normal horsepower?
What?
I think you're at least in like the 250s.
Oh,
40
okay.
sounds
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah.
I will say that much.
Yeah, that's good.
So that would be a good deal though if you traded if you could sell a horse for 10 grand, get a Nissan Altima.
That's good. That's kind of going
Effectively-
from
effectively
good
buying
deal.
250 horses.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
that's like an Amish to Mennonite. You know, Mennonites are the next step from Amish.
Like a little more tech, like they can use.
Yeah, they can use
blenders.
electricity.
Oh,
Yeah,
what can't
so-
they do then?
The Mennonites can?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I knew a guy who hopped trains and got in good with the Mennonites.
Whoa.
He dated one of their daughters.
Is this guy you?
Yeah.
No, I
Did you
was
trade your horse?
ambitious. but
Did you get in good?
Yeah, he knew the Mennonites and he could go from place to place and stay with the Mennonites.
Whoa.
For free.
He told me they have like registries, so if you're in with one Mennonite, they know each other, and
Oh,
yeah, it sounded believable.
centralized registry. That's big. That's got to be computer
Yeah.
facilitated.
At least
right. They got to
spreadsheet.
have some kind of spreadsheet,
Yeah,
right?
there's some sort of
It
Excel.
wasn't. I mean, even in our society, it wasn't computerized until what, the 1970s. It
I
was
would
still.
think, yeah, 70s,
Yeah, true.
80s. Yeah. Yeah.
So when was this guy flopping around?
It's a good question. 2010.
Okay, so they
No,
had
it's-
computers probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what can the Mennonites not do then?
I don't know what they cannot do. I think it's just how much they're willing to kind of bend the rules of the Amish society. Because I think a lot of times what happens is you grow up Amish, you go on your Rumspringa, and then you come back. I don't really know what entails the Rum. It's like a little gap year kind of, right?
Yeah. Oh, you go nuts. I think you go pretty wild.
Yeah,
I think
like
it's
a
like
year
spring break for a year.
Until you realize you're not getting easy puss, and I think people are
It's
just
like an open
oh,
relationship. You
since-
just realize life is hard.
Yeah,
And I should go back to my
Exactly.
family.
Yeah. You're told there's this world of sin out there, and then you show up for it. No one gives a fuck you're there.
Yeah, and like I gotta wait in line to sin, and they're like, and you gotta wear the
you gotta
right
work
clothes.
hard to sin. Yeah.
And you gotta, and you gotta pay $40 just to have a chance to sin.
Yeah,
Where do
yeah.
I put my horse? you don't give a fuck, kid.
Yeah, figure it
Out of the
out.
butter. But a lot of those kids come back and they don't want to be as strict as the Amish traditions were. So then I think Mennonites is kind of how.
Oh, they've seen the Mennonite. And
Yeah,
they
there we
go,
go.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
they start using the Mennonite. Big in
They can use the
Punzi.
Mennonite now.
Yeah.
I'm learning
Men are
about
reading light.
Mennonites via.
Least talked about, or lesser known, the women nights.
Yeah, I was gonna say the people nights.
Womanites.
Shouldn't they change it?
Yeah.
The womanites.
Themonites. That's what I'm going
The Themonites.
The Robin Hood Men in Tights.
to. I bought a lemonite the other day. But yeah, so so the Comanches were.
Wait, I'm sorry. One last Mennonite joke. It sounds like gay Superman's weakness. Mennonite,
Mennonite?
like kryptonite.
Yeah,
Oh,
he has
yeah,
to chase that. Like he's chasing after you, and you're like, "Look!" And he's like, "Oh, it's another guy
It's
down there."
it's
He's
an
gonna-
oiled up little Cuban man.
Yeah.
Not a Mennonite. No. My powers don't work around him. Okay, so getting back to the Comanches, Mike, just coming into this with, I'm assuming, little knowledge on the
Very.
Native Americans.
Almost
What
none.
is your understanding?
Oh, the whole
Your
natives?
colloquial
Nothing.
understanding about how violent they were.
The
and
Native
peace-loving
Americans
versus. I know we're painting with a broad brush here, painting the colors of the wind. But I mean, obviously, different tribes had different varying levels of violence. But what do you think the Comanches were?
very violent.
Yeah,
Yes.
extremely brutal.
Scalping,
Scalping.
killing kids and women, and probably rape.
Oh yeah, all of it, all
Yeah.
that.
Cutting tongues out.
Yeah,
Imagine getting your tongue cut out.
They were also very tricky. Like they were trickster. There was the story of
they were formidable, just the
Yeah.
Native Americans in general.
yeah, but the Comanches particularly in I don't know the 30s or the 20s. Like this Parker family was one of these settlers trying to come out and build a fort. And when you hear fort, you're like, oh, big stone. No, it was like a bunch of wood. It was like a fortified log cabin, and they were trying to make settling safer for other people. The Parker fort got raided. And when the Comanches came up to them, they originally one guy came out with like a white flag on a stick.
In the Parker?
Yeah, in the Parker fort, like faking surrender.
The Parkers were faking surrender.
No, the Comanches. One of the Comanches
On the
came
crest?
out.
Like they weren't even battling. The guy's like, "We give up."
Yeah. He came. Well, he came out like a white. They knew white flag meant peace, basically.
Oh.
Or like we're not going to fight you. So the one guy came out
Olive
with a white
branch.
flag. Yeah, the Parkers came out and they're like, "Oh, cool." And then everyone came out and just started attacking them.
Wow.
Like the Comanches came out once they lured out some of the men.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just started attacking.
Made
them.
you look.
That's not the trickiest thing I've ever heard.
No, but back then maybe it was new tech to trick
More
somebody
like
like
just
that.
like a dishonorable.
You can't lie with the
Yeah.
white flag on the stick. That's
Yeah.
sacred.
Never saw that coming.
They'd kill you, they'd scalp you, they'd cut off your fingers, toes, and dick, and shove them all in your mouth.
Wow.
At least that's what would happen if a soldier fell
How do you
asleep
think
during
it
the
feels
battle.
after the seventh finger?
Yeah,
Like they're trying to get more in. You're like,
You're like, say fluffy bunny. I don't wanna.
and then they're like, you got 10 fingers in there and like 6 toes, and they're like, I just shoved the dick in. And
No,
let's
we don't
get
have
outta
any
here.
room for they just throw the dick in his face.
just tie it to his head.
It's like a sundae on top of a cherry on top of a sundae. It's your dick
It's
and
just
ball.
right on top.
Just put the dick in the nose. We gotta go.
It'll fit.
We gotta chase down those horses we stampeded.
Yeah, this is taking a long time,
too
guys.
many.
This guy's stuffed.
Yeah.
It's such a small mouth. It's very, very difficult.
Or like a scene of like finding your dad dead from Comanches and be like, no, his finger's in there. Oh, another finger. Oh, toe. Just you're wincing for like 20 beats.
That would be funny. They
In this scenario, you're pulling them out one by one.
yeah.
What
it's
are you
like-
gonna do?
Eyes closed.
Well,
Oh no!
What would you do? All of them? Ah. That's fun.
I would probably just turn him over and hit the back of his head.
Oh, yeah.
That would be extra cool though. If they started with the dick and then like at the end of a stocking, you're like, oh, the fingers. Oh no,
Yeah, the big
his dick
Oh,
at the
yeah.
very
Oh,
end.
no, like this
Yeah,
one
you're
doesn't
like,
feel the
well,
same.
at least it's not his dick.
Oh,
You
yeah.
get to the bottom. And here's a little story about the brutality of the Comanches. This story is about Ezra and Martha Sherman, 2 settlers in North Parker County, west of Fort Worth. So this is a brutal raid that happened in November of 1860, which is pretty late in the westward expansion. The Texas population, just for context, in 1836 was 15,000 people. What do you think it was in 1860?
36 to 1860.
Started with 15,000.
1.1 million.
Wow, he went big.
Yeah.
Damn it. Well, this
You made it sound big.
I'm
this
saying 50.
pales 600,000.
That's
Oh
good.
wow.
Yeah,
That's still
big
really good.
multiple. Not as impressive as Mike's made-up number.
What's
but
that?
it really
I knew it was going to be big.
took the wind out of my white flag. So these 2 settlers, Ezra and Martha, were approached in the middle of dinner by these Comanches. They seemed like they were hungry, so they offered them their table. They all sat down. The Comanches, served themselves and then told them to vamoose, get out, go. And so they're like, okay. So they start walking to this guy's cabin, who's like a half mile down the road.
Bunch of bullies.
Yeah. They shoved him in a locker. Very mean stuff. Gave him some swirlies. So they're on their way to their neighbor's house, but on the walk, the Comanches get out of the home, get on their horses, and run them down. Ezra gets away, because I guess he's like, I don't need to run faster than them. I just got to outrun my pregnant wife.
Oh,
the wife
my
is, by the way, I
God.
forgot to mention this. The wife is like 9 months pregnant.
Oh no.
So
are they gonna put the baby in her mouth?
Just you wait. So Ezra makes it. He doesn't get taken. Martha Sherman's taken. She's pregnant 9 months. She is taken by the Comanches, gang raped,
Oh.
arrows fired into her stomach, scalped, and then we all know this because she lived for 4 more days to tell them about this. So they like recovered her body, scalped, all this shit, and she died of like peritonitis later. But this sounds
She died of a stomach ache later.
yeah, she
What?
died of an
Peritonitis?
unrelated pneumonia. I don't know. I just assume it has to do with arrows in your stomach disease. I think it's something related to that. And this sounds like it's so brutal without reason, but these kind of crimes did have a purpose. By the 1860s, people are really reaching very far into Comanche territory. Earlier, it was like further east, and it wasn't that big a deal, but they just follow the buffalo. So at this point, the settlers are kind of pushing the buffalo away. Okay. So they're like fucking up Comancheria and the flow of the buffalo and everything. So this was kind of like a political act of like basically terrorism, that they would do these raids and make it so terrifying and awful to deter people from further.
I'm sure there were scholars as they're raping a pregnant woman. I'm sure they're like,
it was a political genius move. Yeah.
Well, this will deter them from further incursion. Thank you, he who reads. Very clever insights. Yes, good.
Sits on thought. That's a wonderful idea.
Sits on thought.
Yeah, buffalo.
Thinks before speaks. Yeah. Excellent wisdom.
I get the buffalo thing, but did they have to do this while they were raping her?
Did they have to say for the boys? Yeah. Was that necessary?
Went, let's go.
Come on, guys. Let's have some class.
All right, cut that.
But people had so much trouble fighting them because they'd never fought these mounted warriors. So the federales have no idea what they're doing. Like the federal government, they send in infantry. They send in like old French style like dragoons.
The B squad.
Yeah, but they're fully decked out in heavy armor. They would ride to battle, but then they would dismount their horse to fight. So they're wearing heavy armor. They got like orange berets. They got weird blue doubloons. They look ridiculous. They have these things called musketoons, which just sounds like a bad gun.
Yeah,
musketoon. That sounds like a That sounds like a gun that you could put your finger in and it would blow up on you.
Sounds like a gun that also plays music. Yeah, like a horn instrument.
Yeah. Sounds like an airsoft gun. It would be better than a musketoon.
The musketoon.
Yeah.
Introducing the Nerf musketoon.
Yeah.
I did. Quick sidebar. I played the kids I babysit every time. Like every other time I go over, they have increasingly high caliber Nerf guns that their parents have bought them. And
it's a fun way to judge time in your mind.
Yeah.
Is that with the kids?
Oh, we're up to the MG50. Cool.
Yeah. It must be my birthday soon.
We're up to the Golden Eagle, or the Desert Eagle, I guess. Golden Eye. What's Golden Eagle?
I think it's a Golden Tee is the golf game.
Golden
in
Tee.
bars.
I combine a lot of shit. But anyway, these Nerf guns, they're crazy power. Like I've never shot. It's like almost an airsoft gun that fires a Nerf bullet.
Wow.
It hurts.
Oh wow.
Like it'll hit you through clothes and it won't leave a welt, but it hurts.
Oh wow, it's a perfect crime.
Yeah.
You got to think in their laboratories.
They call them disciplinary tools.
Yeah. Yeah, who's still thinking of Nerf gun stuff?
The Nerf
I don't
scientists.
know, but they're advancing at a concerning rate.
I guarantee it. I mean, all right, so you have the technology to make a bullet that goes through like 2 inches of plate into someone's skull.
Nerf?
Just humanity.
General, okay.
And then these guys are like, all right, we could go this far technologically, so they got a lot of gradient to play with.
They do. This is you're probably like the CEO talking to the board of Nerf. You're like, listen, guys, we have so far to go before we get through 2 plates into a kid's head.
Yeah, well, they fine-tuned it to the point where it's like, it's not going to leave a mark. It's like the guy beating his wife with a phone book. It's not going to leave a mark.
I would like to see the focus groups where they shoot the kids and they're like, you can see it a little.
Yeah.
Dial it back.
Okay, that one left a mark. Take your pizza and leave. Thank you for coming into the study.
They're doing it at the back of a bowling alley, just in the party room.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of kids with eye patches on.
The mom wants to take him away because one of the kids shot the other like too close and it hit him in the ear and he started wailing like he'd been murdered.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And when she said she was going to take him away, I offered to take them.
Nice. Of course you did.
Keep them?
Yeah, because I was like, I do think they're too I texted her this. I'm like, I do think they're too powerful for the kids, but I got to be honest, that was the most fun I've had in a long time.
Nice.
Oh, okay,
Dude, get a salt
It was
gun.
really fun.
Salt guns? Get those.
Like to kill the bugs?
Yeah.
No, I want to fight my friends.
Yeah, I'd Nerf fight you.
We'd
I'd
Nerf
airsoft you. I'd love to paintball.
I'll shoot you right now with
I'll
a real
kill
gun.
you right now, guys. I'll Comanche style shoot you with an arrow in the stomach. You guys ever paintball?
Yeah, I've paintball. The kids have paintball. The kids like paintball.
Once.
Yeah, I've done it like 2 or 3 times. I love it.
It's fun.
I think it's so fun.
One time.
You didn't like it?
And then it started to rain, so it was only for about 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So you were in the real shit. You were like in Vietnam paintball.
Yeah.
Kids coming out of tunnels.
Well, yeah, I remember my
traps.
friends were into it when I was like 15 15, and I got like a certain amount of money to go play for my birthday.
Yeah.
And
It's expensive.
It was just we got there in the morning. It was me, my friend Dan, and the instructor. And we start, and the instructor's like taking it easy on me, and I'm against my friend Dan, and he's just going. He's just like lighting up my position.
There were those kids in school that would just be
who
doing
were,
this
like,
in class.
practicing.
Mm-hmm.
My neighbor was like semi-pro, so he would. I would walk home because I was a big.
Everyone was semi-pro.
What does semi-pro mean?
Every
getting-
16-year-old was semi-pro.
Yeah.
They're big fat liars.
They just got sent some fucking
you get sent some
T-shirts.
shit. You get a code to get a discount off a
Oh,
gun.
yeah, you got a 20% off your first order. You're a semi-pro.
My buddy would, because we had a bunch of kids on the block that we'd all just go outside and fireworks and whatever. But my buddy would paintball us on the walk home. It was so I had to zigzag
he
home.
told
every
me that,
day.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Cool.
He was training you for the one day some guy would actually come in.
Yeah, I had to do it. Getting off the train.
Charles, it's because I love you.
Yeah. But yeah, big paintball.
There's a few outcasts in your school I'm worried about. I'm helping. Anyway, so these federales had no idea what they were doing against these Comanches. You know, they're getting off their horses, they're getting run down, they stink. But the 1830s and the 40s, the Texans figured it out. The Texas Rangers. You ever heard of them?
Yeah, they're very popular. Very popular.
Good defense.
Walker.
Good. Yeah, Walker, Texas Rangers.
Yeah, they're known for being
A football
heroic.
team.
Is just a branch of anything.
Yeah.
Exceptionally so, and they're
Yeah.
still around to some degree.
Are they really? Like military?
Isn't there like Texas Rangers?
I think they're called ICE.
Oh.
I think
I
they
could be
rebranded.
wrong.
Yeah,
I guess
they
I don't
morphed
know.
into ice for
I
sure.
think they would have been absorbed eventually when Texas quit all the secessionist shit.
What about Texas something Walker, Texas Ranger?
Yeah. That was a show on.
Wasn't that shot in like the 80s?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if they're still around. They could be. There could be some sort of.
internet.
You're a ranger.
But they were the only ones who ever pushed the Comanches back. Like they followed them into the Comancheria because they copied their tactics. They were on light horses. They had light armor. They had 6-shot revolver, so they could fire multiple rounds. These other guys had like front-loading muskets and like a flintlock dueling pistol.
Who did?
The
Oh,
infantry, like the
I
other,
gotcha.
the federal
Yeah,
troops,
yeah.
anyone else who tried to defeat the Comanches.
Yep.
But the problem with this, similar to the recipe for concrete in Rome, the information wasn't passed along in any kind of organized way. So the Rangers learned in like the 30s how to defeat the Comanches, but by the time the 50s rolled around, everyone had forgotten how to do it.
Wow.
No one knew like revolver. You got to follow them. You got to sleep out under the stars with a knapsack. You got to just live like they do. People just totally forgot. There was no spreadsheets, no
Wow, that's crazy
Mennonites
that-
with Google
Yeah.
Docs.
It's crazy that the wisdom got lost like that.
Yeah.
Because they were such a powerful enemy that you would feel like you need to keep that so.
A few people had it, and I think the only times that expeditions were successful, which is it's so similar to how the Comanches did it. The Comanches, like a war chief, anyone could be a war chief as long as you got together a raiding party, conducted a successful raid, and then came back. And then people were like, oh, you're like a war chief now. So it's very meritocratic with the Comanches. Same thing with the Rangers. Like later on, if you wanted to, I don't know, go rescue your wife that the Comanches had stolen, you would find some former ranger, and he'd be like, I'll do one last job. I
Yeah.
guess. I'll
Like Jaws, that guy.
Yeah.
Get your dumb wife back.
Yeah.
Some Jeff Bridges character in a dirty jacket with a
Interesting.
thing of dip
So
in
they
his
just emulated the Comanches.
yeah, basically.
It's funny because everybody that was everybody got slaughtered until eventually we'll learn how they were beat. But all the written descriptions of the battles, you could tell that Texas Rangers or whoever else went up against them were so kind of wooed about how good they were. There's all these
A
descriptions
lot of
of like
respect, yeah.
their golden glistening bodies
Really?
descended upon us and slashed my heart out of my chest. I still had enough blood left to get
To
erect.
write the letter.
Yeah.
Still writing in third person.
Yeah. It's
Past tense.
Yeah.
I still had. There I was.
Yeah.
Dying. Right now.
Arrow in my mouth, penis in
At
my
this
head.
moment.
And they also had peace chiefs, by the way. They were very violent,
They
but
did
they
have
also
peace
had some
chiefs.
peace chiefs. And if they abducted you, they tried to kind of integrate you into their tribe.
Oh, yeah.
which
Just
is
like we
very-
did to no success.
Yeah.
They were nicer about it. They would be like, hey, skin the bison, skin the buffalo,
They
do
were
what we're
nicer
told.
about it? Were
Well,
they?
when we tried to assimilate Native Americans,
They just went to boarding schools, right?
They did go to boarding schools.
They tried to make them farmers, and that
Yeah,
was
that's
like
a good point. I just think they didn't want to. I mean, like, it's just a worse life. It's like here's your 9 to 5, and they're like, well, I was like on the plains,
Yeah, I was
like
a
running
free
around in a
buffalo hunt
horse,
man.
you know. And I think they did.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. They probably weren't super cruel.
It was
to
a
the ones-
Catholic church and stuff was doing it, and I don't think the 9 to 5 had been invented yet.
They were like,
More like a 7 to 8.
Yeah,
it's funny, the hours were weird. I don't know. Something about we're close, but I don't like this.
yeah.
I know
The
we're
long
close.
Factory days.
What's the vacation policy?
Right.
Yeah.
That was in a lot of the interviews for
Yeah.
the assimilation.
Yeah, right.
You've been sick a lot, and I don't like that. Why is that a problem with you? I don't
They're
know,
just
but
like the boomer dad,
Yeah.
like sexual harassment. This is normal shit.
yeah. That's how we do it on the planes.
Yeah.
You have a guy coming in like, so I'd love to assimilate and convert. I do have a vacation right when we start.
Yeah.
So just heads up, I'm going to be gone for like 3-4 weeks. I got to scalp some people.
Yeah,
I got to.
Yeah. There's an HR meeting. We love the work you're doing, but last week you did cut off Mike's penis and put it in his mouth. What was that about?
Well, you know, those company parties get wild.
Yeah.
those Christmas parties. There was one key flaw that the Comanches had, though, to their warring, which is their over-reliance on superstition. So they believe, what was it called, medicine? They use the word medicine and magic pretty interchangeably. And there was this guy at this battle named Iron Shirt because he had an old Spanish like piece of chainmail, and so he was also a big medicine. So he was a war chief, but he was a big medicine man as well. So before battles, he would stomp around with his horse, kind of like William Wallace before that scene. He would just be in front of everybody, stomping around, making big like big breaths, and this was supposed to make him invulnerable against bullets and arrows, which was mainly the chainmail's doing.
Yeah.
So you'd shoot him, and like a bullet might ping off of him. But the problem with this,
He knew that.
yeah,
He wasn't like, oh, this doesn't do anything.
he's like,
Yeah.
it's all
Like,
about
this
the
is
breath.
yeah.
No, this is just
He
symbolic.
was just
Yeah.
he was hyping himself up.
Yeah, but the problem is that he'd ride into battle, and he's so courageous and everything. You know, bullets flying at him. Some are pinging off, but then eventually he does get shot,
Yeah.
and then everyone is like, the medicine's bad. We gotta go, and they would all retreat.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So once the spell that was protecting him was broken, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a bad omen. We have to retreat.
Oh.
And this was huge because they would be winning battles. They would be like, if they pushed forward, they would have driven people out. They could have held on to it for another 100 years.
Yeah, we'd
But-
all be speaking Comanche.
We'd all be
now.
speaking Comanche. That's right.
Which also
We'd all be
was,
skinning hides.
Didn't we'd all be hunting the buffalo right now?
Yep.
We'd all be on the plains following our great food.
That sounds pretty fun.
Also, yeah, I mean, I think it was the Comanches because they're the most aggressive. Comanches were, again, sorry if I get this wrong, the Coyote, something with a Q.
Oh, Quahati.
Quahati. I'll tell you, I saw Quahati walking here.
Yeah.
Especially,
Here?
yeah.
She's on her way still.
Yeah, she's walking here.
Yeah.
So you should come over. We're going to talk about your people.
She got waylaid by a raiding party, but she'll be here soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, her
No.
medicine man was late.
No head.
Go ahead.
But I think it was the Quahati and the Comanche that they served in World War II. That's the story of my life, no head.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
They were the 17 Native American speakers that used that language. That
The code breakers?
Yeah.
No fucking way.
Way, dude.
Fucking way.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
They really redeemed themselves.
Yeah.
World War II was a redemption arc for a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
different people.
Well, that's interesting because the Quahatis were
Germans.
the last. The Quahatis were the last ever. I don't think they ever went on reservations.
Well,
There was like 6 bands of Comanche, and the Quahatis were the most notoriously like they never signed a treaty.
Yeah, they didn't
never
show
signed
up.
one treaty, and they maybe eventually were the last group to get on the reservations, but they were the holdouts.
Yeah. All the Comanches were very aggressive and things like that, but the Quahati were the most aggressive and brutal because they lived on the high plains. It was inhabitable, but somehow they were able to live there.
It was uninhabitable.
Uninhabitable, yeah. That's
Oh, they
the
were up
word.
north. That's why.
Yeah, so
Very
they
cold
lived in
your neck of the woods.
yes. And so they were like, look,
Minnesota.
we
They
live like
lived
this.
in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about have you
Strip-
Oh,
heard
sorry
Your-
about this.
Your little
And
map
they-
didn't show that.
They
but-
rip you.
I'm gonna scalp you now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard of-
yeah, maybe Kansas. You're right.
Yeah. Have you heard of the storm term northerns?
Colorado.
The
No,
what?
What?
I think they're called northers or northerns, but it's where they lived. A storm could come out of the blue
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and drop 50 degrees. So when
a norther, a nor'easter, but not an east. It's not east.
No Easter.
It's just a nor.
Just a nor.
Norovirus.
And so a lot of times when
not familiar.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was familiar until it's like kind of like in Arizona. I think we're the only place that gets a haboob, which is a giant dust storm
that looks like a hot lady.
Yeah, it's the best time of year.
Yeah.
What do you?
Just one massive tit flying towards your your city.
The mummy.
Yeah.
A mommy.
Scarab in your skin.
The mummy. They have that. Somewhat. I don't.
Yeah. No, that happens in Arizona. They filmed a live one. There's always a face.
That was rad in the fucking early 2000s. Boy, was that cool.
Oh, that was a great movie.
I watched it recently. It
still holds up.
It's pretty campy. It's kind of cheesy.
That
but
scared me.
I think it knows it from the start. They know it's not like a great film, but it's fun.
Yeah, it scared me. The scarabs going up the skin.
It did back in the day.
Scarabs.
Yeah, when I was a kid. Oh my god.
What do you feel like as a director when you start the first scene of the movie? That's millions of dollars in budget, and you're like, this is going to be kind of a stinker.
Yeah,
that's got to be a weird feeling. After the first day, and you're like, God damn it, this movie stinks. I think.
Cool. Well, I see. I think people just assume directors to be these high-minded, kind of like, I'm making something great.
Yeah.
But I think some of these guys are just shoot from the hip.
It's just a job.
It's just not even just a job, because that assumes that if you're not high-minded, you fail. But I think it's just like, this would be so cool to have a fucking scarab.
Yeah. They're just kind of cheesy.
Get in there, flex your muscle. You know, we're gonna have fun.
Okay,
yeah.
Just more like Coke energy. Like,
I'm sure.
Do it, dude. I don't know.
So many film snobs. I'm sure they know the exact director and what they did, etc.
Actually, he put a lot of thought and intention behind that.
But the Quixote were the last ones to ever be defeated.
Yeah.
Because I think eventually it was Mackenzie and somebody, Graham or whatever, who like kind of followed them into the high plains, and I think ultimately they were the ones that beat them. But a lot of the other tribes agreed to go to a reservation. Mm-hmm. But the last Comanche chief who hated the whites more than anybody was half white.
Yeah, and he is the son of Cynthia Ann Parker.
Yes.
Quanah.
Another example of when they took Cynthia Ann Parker from her white family, they integrated her into the tribe, and I don't know how long it took her to forget about her family, but she ended up getting married, had a bunch of kids, and then one of those kids, it's kind of like a Disney movie, beginning to a Disney movie, the whites came back and raided their area and took the mom back, but the mom didn't want to go. So this guy, what was his name? Quanah.
Quanah's the son.
Quanah was like, fuck white people forever. And I think even more so because he had a little bit in him.
Just like in Disney.
Yeah. Just like in the Goofy movie. Yeah. That's the hidden message.
Yeah.
Those are all the hidden penises in Disney, by the way. They've been cut off by the Comanche and placed in the backgrounds of Disney movies.
Yeah, Cynthia Ann was taken when she was 9.
Yeah.
And then she, forgot about her white family and was adopted into a Comanche family and married a war chief who was a very high up war chief. He was, what is his name?
How many are these? How many of them are there?
War chiefs?
No, just in this tribe. But like
how many people?
Well, at the time, I think there were
a few thousand.
16 to 40,000.
Whoa.
So they had a huge population.
One tribe?
No,
total. Yeah.
Okay,
so they were flourishing
big,
because
they were per band, the band, like the group that you ran with, and it was all it was weird cliques, not really cliques, but they would intermingle. But the Panaticas was another one, and they were all about just like eating flowers that tasted like honey. Like each of them had a weird quirk.
Yeah.
And so the Panaticas
it's kind of like
unified and like we love these honey flowers.
Yeah, modern day.
Oh, and then there's one guys like
they're not that good. I'm a Quahati.
Yeah, I'm over here in the Buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a subreddit of today.
I prefer hitting rocks until they spark. So I'm gonna head with these guys.
That's totally rad.
That's more.
That's
more my shit.
Come check us out sometime. It's cool. We do it every Wednesday.
Yeah, I think you might like it.
Yeah.
So she was taken.
You haven't scalped yet, dude.
Oh, Peta. That's what that. Peta Nocona was the war chief.
Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata. Well, things were all Hakuna Matata for Cynthia Ann until she got fucking rescued when she was 31.
She was having a good life.
She was having a great life.
Yeah.
She lived for 24 years out on the plains with Peta Nocona. And Peta Nocona, similar to, you ever see Game of Thrones? Mm-mm. With, you know Khaleesi?
Yeah.
Daenerys, the blonde lady who's queen of the dragons. And then what's his name? Jason Momoa is the, the war chief equivalent, steals Khaleesi, and then they marry. and he kind of half rape, half sex. You know, kind of rape becomes sex.
At what point?
Death becomes her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think after the second orgasm, you're like, all right.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
No, but that's. I mean, basically what happened. Peta Nocona took her as his wife. This was big ups to Cynthia Ann Parker. He didn't take any other wives. They usually had multiple wives.
Wow.
Well, she was 6 when she got kidnapped.
She was 9.
9. Okay.
She was 9. So he might have been. Yeah. I mean, it
I
was
was looking at it upside down.
disturbing age difference, probably. But he never took another wife. So.
Yeah, well, she's the one different person. That's an exotic item, you know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
How exotic is a 9-year-old white woman?
Well, in my book.
She was very
white
tall.
girl
She was. I don't know
versus-
how much of a difference this makes. She was very tall.
Yeah.
So she looked a little.
She was as tall as a 20-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah. But they were much taller than the Comanches, just generally.
Really? Comanches are little guys.
Yeah, more. Yeah, jockeys basically. They were
Were
great
they
on horses.
Spanish descent, or they were
No.
Native American?
No.
Okay.
So when she gets captured or whatever, rescued, I guess, this guy Saul Ross, who ended up being the governor of Texas and the president of Texas A&M University, he's the one who hunts her down and like finds her. They are running after her and Peta Nocona. They're shooting at both of them, and then Cynthia Ann has a baby with her, one of her kids, and the kids are named Quanah, this guy named Peanut, and Prairie Flower was her daughter.
They were English. They weren't English names.
No,
right?
but that was the translation
Oh.
of what these names meant.
Okay.
Although I don't know what Quanah. I think Quanah meant perfume or like sweet smelling or stench, stinky. One of the other. Maybe if you were mad at him,
There's
he's
some odorous.
odorous. Yeah, some kind of odor.
Yeah, that's a good name to give a kid. That's not going to give him a complex.
Stink.
I stink.
What's up, Stink?
So much is my name.
Yeah, can you get your sister Pretty Flower, Stink?
Yeah, what the hell?
And your stupid brother Peanut.
Yeah.
So she holds up Prairie Flower as she's riding and exposes her white breasts to the guys so they don't shoot her. So she goes, holds up her baby. I don't know how she does all this on horseback. Holds up her baby, takes off her clothes, and goes, Americano, Americano. And they're like, what? So they don't shoot her. They shoot Peta Nocona. They kill him.
Wow.
They kill her son, or
No,
her
they
husband.
kill her husband.
Yeah.
They kill her husband. And they knew that this the Parker fort was raided and that some people were taken. So they knew this like 9-year-old girl had been abducted 20 years ago. And then eventually when they saw her, they started piecing together. They're like, oh my God, I think this is the girl.
I
who
know
was
those
kidnapped.
breasts anyway.
I know those titties anyway. Yeah. Maybe that's why in the French Revolution, you know that painting of the woman with the boobs?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
It's
I
like the
think
most
I do.
famous,
I
the
think I
Viva la
do.
Revolution, and she has a French flag and huge, seemingly fake tits. I mean, they're so round and
Well, they're painted.
they are painted.
It's a fake.
In real life, they were just hitting people in the head.
Well, that's not like a guy was. Oh, she's gonna stand there for a while.
Yeah, sure. It was from his imagination.
Yeah.
But maybe she had her tits out just so she wouldn't get shot. Maybe that was a tactic.
Yeah.
Maybe that was her big medicine.
Yeah. Whoa.
Cool.
Yeah.
Pina colada.
Pina
Pina
colada.
colada. Yeah.
I suppose all that unrealistic body standards that's been around forever, like the Enlightenment and all those paintings.
Oh,
and
true.
Sculptures.
They got the dicks right.
But all
throughout
of a
time,
sudden
though.
we're like, because it's happened. I mean, the plastic surgery obviously
Sure.
hammers at home, but yeah, people have been.
You're right about the boobs. The boobs have been kind of but the penises have always been pretty accurate, even since the Roman times. You got little tiny softies.
Yeah, almost on the small side, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say on a cold day that was sculpted.
yeah.
That's what I would.
Well, marble's cold, so he's like, well, the statue would be cold. So we should make the penis how the statue
to
would feel.
represent- yeah,
how the
okay.
statue would feel. So they take Cynthia. What else happens?
It sounds like she surrendered and her husband just got killed. It doesn't sound like she was taken. It sounds like she surrendered.
No, they were running her down. So there was no. I mean, yeah, she surrendered because she didn't want her daughter to die.
How
that
you
was the
gonna
main
show your
thing.
tits while you're being run down? You have to be faced.
She was trying to be like, I'm white.
Yeah.
Don't kill me.
Yeah.
That because this is another thing. She worked so much with buffalo. Like the women were like the workhorses of the Comanche people. The men went out and hunted. That's really their only job. They hunted, they raided, but then they like came back. They drank, they joked, they farted on each other. It was just a good time. The women are in charge of processing and deconstructing 1.5 ton buffalo.
Yeah.
It would be like each woman had to like take apart a fucking Chevy.
That's crazy.
Like
yeah.
every week, they would have to disassemble a whole buffalo, and so they were
How would
so.
they cured it? They cured it, and
Well, they would skin it. They would, I mean, everything.
because
they would scoop out the
after
brains.
A few hours, you're dealing with rotten
Yeah, what are you
meat.
doing with that? I heard this too.
I don't
with
know. That's a good question. They probably salted a lot of it.
Oh yeah, we getting that salt on
But
the
you get so
plains.
covered in this buffalo. Evidently, your skin is all covered in grease. It like blackens your hair. So apparently, to people, she looked not white.
Wow.
Maybe she wasn't carving them up shirtless, so her tits were still
Yeah.
immaculately alabaster. But
Uh-huh.
not her. The rest of her body was like Native American
Okay.
appearing.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, because all that buffalo. That's like hard work.
Oh yeah.
These ladies must have been ripped. They must have had fucking ice cream scooper arms.
Yeah.
You know. You
Yeah.
ever
I
seen a lady
suppose-
working an ice cream store and one of her arms is just jacked?
I've never seen it.
Oh yeah,
You've
because
seen
you only use the same
a
one.
one jacked one arm.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, like a Devin Larott lady.
Oh, who's that?
He's the professional arm wrestler.
Oh yeah.
One of his
yeah,
arms
yeah.
looks like 3 times as big as the
Oh,
other
shit.
one.
Yeah.
yeah. I think he started out as an ice cream scooper. He went semi-pro, and then his dad was like, "I think you got a career here."
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of brutal work, taking apart a whole fucking buffalo.
Oh, they're huge.
They're ginormous.
I heard also the men would kill them and they would eat the liver immediately.
Yeah, it was like the sweetest part. It was the cake within the buffalo.
The liver.
Yeah, the liver's got to be horrendously disgusting.
Rich.
Yeah, rich and
That's what guys are doing now.
yeah, the liver king.
They're videotaping themselves.
Yeah, eating liver raw.
Yeah.
It's so, I got friends back home that do that, and I think it's so.
They do it.
Yeah, and
Wow.
they're like,
Where do you get a liver that's
You can-
edible?
you can
raw?
go and get it at the butcher shop.
But is it? I mean, don't they anticipate you cooking it? I suppose beef liver is a I ate liver growing up, but it was cooked.
Yeah, I've never had liver. How'd you like it?
No, I didn't particularly. I didn't
Yeah,
like
most
it.
people say
no.
it's pretty gross.
As a kid, I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to get into it when it was so popular, and everywhere I called was out because it was such a popular
Oh.
trend.
I think, but it's always been around liver,
Yeah.
liver and onions.
Liver and onions.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that was like the meal you heard our parents say they hated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
It was because the Comanches would force them to eat it.
Well, it was kind of
Yeah.
interesting that story about the couple who got run out of their home.
yeah.
They have names that maybe my grandparents were popular back then.
Ezra
So
and
yeah,
Mhm.
Marsha Sherman.
Yeah, those were
Yeah.
names that you used to. I mean,
That would be a great. My great grandma Mildred.
yeah, it's like that. It was
Whoa.
of that era. It was probably the tail end of when. So you start to see modern names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emerge.
Modern
Yeah.
old names.
Yeah, modern.
Yeah.
Old names,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's more to the Cynthia Ann Parker thing because after she gets rescued, she's kind of toured around Texas as like this freak show, like kind of like Progea with Houdini.
Oh wow.
Houdini, when he was like starting out, would like, what would he do?
Houdini's first job was in Coney Island. He was a circus freak in a cage, and people would throw meat to him because they said he was from
An ideal job for a Comanche
They
warrior.
said he was a Mexican,
yes.
so they put him in a cage. and you
Progea,
could
the
throw-
wild Mexican.
Yeah, because Mexican was so exotic. They
This is like a tiny Jew pretending to be
was
a
this?
carnivorous Mexican.
this is when was Houdini starting out?
Early 1900s.
Yeah, it was when Coney,
Coney
Island
Island.
was a theme park. So-
Yeah.
or like,
But
yeah.
they had to preface it. They couldn't just say, "Hey, a Mexican." Is
No, I don't. think
No, I think they
said-
prefaced it with, "Ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
introducing Progea, the wild Mexican."
That
the
was his-
wild, but they said the wild.
They
yeah.
said the wild.
'Cause
Yes.
they knew. Yeah,
It wasn't just the Mexican. Yeah.
But he also
Yeah.
was a Jew from Hungary.
Yeah.
So they just
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
"No, you're Mexican," and then you could throw raw meat to him.
and he would eat it.
Carne. That's all you got to
depending-
say.
yeah, I would imagine, depending on how hungry he was, he probably.
Yeah.
If I got thrown raw meat enough, I probably like.
Yeah.
Ooh, why? Oh, I'm
Oh,
crazy.
get it.
Yeah, he probably had to be like.
Who had the raw? Oh, they had a stack of raw meat.
I guess so. Yeah. I wonder if
Yeah.
you.
I think it was like a coin thing. You put a quarter in,
Yeah,
you got
yeah.
a steak out of a dispenser, and you
Yeah, yeah.
threw it at him.
gumball machine.
Yeah.
This is tough.
But she had this guy, Uncle Isaac, who toured her around to get a stipend. His big idea was, look, I can get her in front of people. I can get someone in the Texas government aware of Cynthia Ann Parker, and we can make some cash.
Whoa.
So he took her to Fort Worth. He put her, this is crazy, bound with a rope on a box, like tied to a box in like the town square. Children were let out of school early to see Cynthia Ann Parker. And so they would go up to her. She was this big show. She was like, of course, distraught, just like mumbling like Comanche prayers, just like super upset. And she was like a minor celebrity of just like this like white Native American woman crying on a box.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cynthia Ann Parker.
Cynthia Ann Parker. Who? What was her name?
I wondered, did she have a Comanche name?
She did, and
She
it actually
musta.
she did, and it actually meant something. It was Naura, which means something found, which is kind of sweet.
Oh,
That they're
wow.
like, hey, you were lost, but we found you.
Wow.
She had a much better life, and people after, like once she died, people are like, I think the whites did more harm to her than the Comanches did when they originally took her.
Yeah, they commoditized her.
Right,
Yeah.
but if they never took her, she would have had a normal life. right?
Probably. Yeah, but they shouldn't have. They should have just let well enough alone.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
tough, though.
But you don't
I mean,
know
that's
that.
tough. Yeah, I mean, she did show you her boobs to be like...
They were battling.
And
Yeah.
this is another thing that people thought she was mistreated. She had like cuts and stuff over her arms and her boobs, so that people thought she was like tortured. But that was just a way to express mourning
Oh, right.
as a
yeah.
Comanche person.
Yeah, they were.
So-
They would do some weird rituals.
Yeah, so if your husband died or
ritual.
if like a friend died, you would cut yourself and wail, and it was like you'd like pour your blood in the fire, and that would be for their spirit and stuff. So she was like self-mutilating, but it wasn't like they were torturing her.
Oh,
You know.
that is a young white woman's way of dealing with.
Yeah, that kind of sounds like
Yeah.
some people in Brooklyn
Yeah,
would do that now.
she's white, all right.
Yeah.
So she tried to escape multiple times from the whites. They had to like send search parties out for her. So now they got the taxpayers on the hook for this white squaw. This guy, William, her cousin, learns that she's not really having a great time with Isaac, which, by the way, she does get a stipend. She gets like a few $1,000 in modern day money a year, and she gets like 4,000 acres granted to her, which Isaac takes.
Ooh.
Because she's thought of by these people not as like a fully grown rational woman, but as like a deranged pagan
Yeah,
mad
Which
woman,
she
like
is.
savage
A
woman.
little bit. She is that way.
Yeah, but she wasn't
Right.
dumb,
Okay.
which is illustrated in this next part. So William, her cousin, is like, hey, I've heard that you've had to chase Cynthia Ann down, tackle her, and chain her to the box multiple times, Uncle. How about I give it a go? So this guy, William Parker, takes her into his custody, but he also has alternative motives because he was in the Mexican-American War. He was in some war. He was injured. He got his like hip or something got shattered, but he's not injured enough that he can't be reconscripted. So once the Civil War is like starting up again, he doesn't want to go back to war. So his plan is to get Cynthia Ann to take him and her and this other guy, Coho Smith,
to the Indian
to
tribe?
the Comanches as like
Wow.
witness protection.
Whoa.
Which is crazy to think that they would be like, yeah, come on, hang out.
Yeah.
We got bison for everybody.
Yeah.
And so they asked this guy, Coho Smith, who was a Native American / Mexican friend. The reason that William asked him is because he was like, well, if we go, they're just going to kill us and capture her and enslave her, and it's not going to work. So they're like, I think Coho will give us the chit that we need. Coho is very out on this plan. He's like, I don't want to do this. He's making all these bullshit excuses. He's like, I would, but there's not enough horses.
Yeah, and this high horse. There's horses running everywhere. It's like a school of fish. Like, I don't know.
I just can't
There's
catch
not enough
one.
horses in this town.
But this is where Cynthia Ann's intelligence comes out because she knows Spanish and Comanche. So this guy knows both as well. So she starts talking to him, and she's like, horses, that's nothing. We can get a horse. What the fuck are you talking about? Let's get a horse. So she says to him in Spanish, she's like, no, Billy said he wants to go to the Comanches. You will take both of us, and we will go, and we'll live happily ever after. And I don't think Cynthia Ann thought that Billy was going to make it either because she thought he was like a coward deserter.
Whoa, nice.
You know?
Okay, so she
She's
was
like, oh, so
all
you're
in.
kind of a bitch for
Yeah.
wanting to come with me. That's your reason is you're a bitch. So we need to get this other guy to take us as well. And he did not.
Oh, no. So what happened to them?
So then she moved on to this other guy, Silas, who was like a different uncle. And
A lot of uncles this girl had.
Wait, why didn't
dad was killed. Dad was killed in the raid. What's up?
Why didn't she get to go back to the Comanches with them? Who?
Coho wouldn't take her.
But
And- Sorry, go ahead.
the other guy didn't want to. I thought the one guy wanted to go.
He
though.
wanted to go, but I don't think either of them wanted to go with just the other one. They didn't think that would be enough to secure their safety.
Oh, wow.
They
that's
needed like another intermediary, I think, because Cynthia Ann could go to some Comanche band, but it's not. They're very decentralized. If you sign a treaty with one of them, you think, oh, we've made peace with the natives. No, you've made peace with like 500 of them.
Yeah.
So they don't have any centralized information
So
sharing.
she's worried
So
that
she
sh-
could just be enslaved by one of them. It's just like a runaway random white.
Yeah,
and
she's-
the whole thing happened.
Oh,
and then
'cause
she's
they
9
don't
again.
know her.
Because they don't know her.
And they couldn't go back to the high plains because they were wiped out, or what?
What do you mean?
Where was she from? Couldn't they go back?
I don't think she was a Quahoti or the term.
Oh, okay.
Quahati?
Yeah.
She couldn't go back to her old tribe.
I think maybe, yeah. So
Maybe,
this-
but I think they're always moving. So there's no guarantee you
Yeah.
would find them before you would find a different tribe that might not be so nice to you.
And then
I
this,
see.
so maybe this guy with the horses, or the guy who knew Mexican and knew where to find them.
Maybe. Eventually, Prairie Flower dies of all the diseases that the whites brought in, like influenza and pneumonia. Oh, she did try, by the way, to assimilate. She would be out sometimes. She would like carve a circle into the ground. She made a fire with tobacco, cut her breast, let the blood drip into the fire, and later told people this was a prayer to her great spirit to allow her to feel connected to her original family.
Wow.
So she was trying. She was really trying, but they never really saw her as a person.
Well, she's cutting her boob and dripping it over the fire. I mean, that's going to be
I
hard.
get it though.
What, in what way?
Well, that's what she's used to. So she's just trying to keep some. She's trying to
Yeah.
orient herself back to her.
And no one believed that a Christian woman would go along with any of this voluntarily. They were like, she's been brainwashed at the very least,
Oh,
but she's
wow.
been tainted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that perspective a little bit from
the
their
time.
standpoint.
Sure.
Yeah, if someone.
Well,
just-
all you know about them is like they cut off dicks and put them in mouths.
Yeah, and then you're cutting yourself. That
Yeah.
would be odd, and it's just like two
It is
cultures.
kind of who is the exorcist woman? Elizabeth Rose, Emily Rose. She seems kind of like an exorcist person.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odd.
You probably wouldn't want to strike up a conversation with her.
Yeah.
In fact, it's almost more tolerant on the people who lived around her's part to be like, well, you know,
Yeah,
she's cutting her boob into a fire. Like if we saw that, we'd be like, we'd call the police.
yeah. Yeah. I
We
think
gotta get this kid away from her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does ICE do this too? What do we do here?
But
Send this lady to El Salvador.
when when her daughter died, she starved herself to death.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's how Cynthia Ann Parker died?
Yep. Well, later she got like in pneumonia or something, but they think it was complications due to starvation.
Starving
Sure.
her.
That's a brutal way to die.
Was that grieving?
Yeah. After she lost Prairie Flower, she's like, I've lost all ties to my old life.
100%, man.
Because her two sons, Quana and Peanut, they had escaped.
Yeah.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, so she didn't even know if they were still out there.
And Quana didn't know about her mom, and he was the most enraged, most brutal war chief of the
Yeah.
Quahotus. So he was the one who later gave everybody a run for their money. There was
He kind of united everybody for the
Yeah.
last stand.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Quana was
Wow.
Her son.
was the most brutal war chief of all.
And
the
very
Quahotus.
smart, very tactical too.
Very,
Really?
very smart.
Well, he's
Yeah.
got the genetics.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah, he's got that perfect blend of white and Comanche. He could outsmart the enemy. He knows them. He would just think deep inside and feel his spirit. Get his white blood all over that fire.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
I mean, but I
He
think
waited until he saw a few White Claw cans discarded by the fire, and he's like, "We strike now."
they're close.
They're drunk on there.
Yeah. Well, it was really I think it was General Mackenzie who was he was his, I don't know, the general, whatever you want to call it, but he was so determined to hunt them down because the Comanches had snuck up on different parts of the, I don't know, brigade or whatever and tortured them the same way when General Mackenzie wasn't there. Like, the Comanche would sneak up on different white people kind of on the trail and like do the same things, like tie them to a wagon wheel and burn them to death. And Mackenzie was like, if there's the last thing I do, I'm going to hunt down the Comanche. But they lived in this brutal environment, and a lot of times the Comanche were able to escape or kind of hide behind the hills and, you know, they would really gang up on them at night. But eventually General Mackenzie was able to kind of track them down to get them on the run, and they were close enough to ganging up on them. They were about a mile away, and then one of those northern storms hit, and it dropped 50 degrees, and they had to retreat.
the Westerners?
soldiers,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Interesting. It's funny because in this context, the Comanches are actually the Westerners.
Nope.
Nice.
Also, this is a favorite. Just talking about Cynthia Ann Parker and the people that they like to integrate the most into their tribes from kidnapping or whatever POW was German people. It was their favorite person to kidnap.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because of their
Because they're
Obsession with right angles.
because they're beautiful hair and skin and pure blood.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
Yeah, they love taking the German. Isn't that fun?
Interesting. That is weird.
It's fun to come up if you were like,
Well, they made the best buffalo schnitzel.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
The best kielbasa.
They're kind of engineer-y people.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of
Yeah,
like
I
they're
don't know.
quiet,
Yeah,
but
I
they get
think
stuff
we could
done.
get this teepee much stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you could break it down easier.
Interesting.
I have some fun facts too about the treaties. Some of the treaties were insane
The demands that they wanted.
on both sides, but especially on the Comanche side. The first treaty with the Panatica in 1857. This is the U.S. terms: give up your captives, give up your stolen goods, accept the U.S. borders, trade only with licensed traders. Pretty reasonable.
Licensed traders.
Licensed.
As opposed
I don't know, just like
Yeah.
roving.
Comanche tribes or
thieves.
something? Probably the ones who haven't made treaties yet.
I think so.
Yeah,
I'm not
ice
really
out,
sure.
Ice out their allies.
Yeah. In exchange, the U.S. would give gifts equivalent of $10,000, which is a lot.
To everyone? Or just the whole?
I think just to the tribe, and then they
Okay,
would distribute
yeah.
it. They would give them blacksmiths, like on retainer, basically, to like repair their weapons when they needed them. And
Their weapons. Okay, yeah, because they
Yeah,
were still
'cause the-
sovereign entities.
right.
Okay.
And the only white visitors who could enter Comancheria would have to have a signed permission slip from the President of the United States,
Whoa.
Well,
James K. Polk.
yeah.
Yep. No one ever got one. I don't think he was ever asked.
Yeah, I don't think people were like, let's
Had a
go in there.
stack of 'em on his desk.
Yeah.
James, I'm sorry. We got like
Can't be
200
bothered, yeah.
fast passes for the gringos into
Yeah.
Comancheria again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the interests of the U.S. on that? I mean, why? What was their? I don't see much of a huge benefit on
No?
the U.S. other than
They
Give up your captives.
They wanted. Well, also
the cap. Oh, right.
Well,
It's,
also,
it's
it
on.
was-
Go ahead.
as land too. There was a lot of
Respect
Indian-owned-
U.S. borders.
Yeah, a lot of Indian.
Oh, sure.
Because
Yeah.
they're pushing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I got
It's really Manifest Destiny is really just like the American Crusades.
Yeah,
It
they
is.
Because
wanted
it's like a God ordained mission that we will have sea to shining sea, river to the sea. It's actually a ton of parallels
Wasn't
between
it
Israel
kinda-
and Palestine.
But the Crusades there was a central authority directing that. It was Manifest Destiny was a lot of settlers, correct?
it was, but the U.S. government was very for
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
But you're right; it wasn't always a centralized effort.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but they did. I mean, they built a line of forts along a perimeter
Right.
Um,
right.
to try to reinforce it.
Wow.
But it's kind of funny because the successful Manifest Destiny people were the Texans and the not federal influence.
Okay.
So the people who actually made
decided they were
like worthy inroads
as
or
good
like
as anyone.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
were the
That's
random
pretty
settlers.
Cool. That's inspiring.
Yeah, man, you just go take it.
Now they're doing it right
Whatever you
now.
want,
It's
just go
like,
take it for
I mean,
God,
the
brother.
idea that like you're not gonna wait for anyone to do it for you, and you're just as capable as they are. And then
It's kind of ironic that the settlers there had a lot in common with the Comanches.
sure, yeah.
They're like, I'm going to do what I want.
well, they're also formed by the same. They're affected by the same environment. So that's got to play some part in
Sure.
influencing people's thoughts. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think they ever cut their boobs into fire, but maybe.
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, I suppose.
What were the Comanches' treaties conditions?
Well, that the president had to sign a
That was what he
permission
said.
slip.
Yeah. Oh, that was
Oh.
it.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And then consequent treaties, it was always like,
I really
yeah,
trusted Polk.
yeah. Well, I think it was because they made the same mistake that we made about the Comanches. They're like, oh, so you have like one leader who controls everything?
Yeah.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
He's over in D.C. This
Right,
is
Yeah.
Texas.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, maybe, but not really.
Yeah.
You know, they should have had like the governor Ross or somebody a little lower.
Yeah,
I
sure,
think in the meeting they were like, "Who is your highest guy?" they were like, "I guess the president."
And
they're like,
Polk.
"Him.
Yeah.
He's
Polk,
got to sign it."
Polk kind of sounds Native American-y.
Sure.
Polk, closest.
guess.
Out of
You think they believe? They're like, oh yeah, he's in charge of this country.
Yeah.
Another
Oh,
native.
nice, an Arapaho.
Yeah.
Cool. Didn't know you had an Iroquois president.
Yeah.
Well, that's convenient. Oh, another thing about the reservations. So when they would put the natives on reservations, a lot like the Quahati and other, they would just go to the reservations and use that as like grocery shopping, basically. Because when you went on the reservation, you had to remove your arms. But there was no real like security there was no like federal presence like keeping watch and protecting the natives. So different bands of Comanches who had not entered the reservation would know where these reservations were, like at the Brazos Hills or the Brazos River or whatever, the Brazos Reservation, they would just go and like kill, raid, kick the shit out of, steal, and then run away.
Other native tribes?
Yeah, like the Iroquois, the Tonkawa. They hated the Tonkawa.
Yeah, well, the Tonkawa.
Hated the Tonkawa.
Tonkawa-
Tricky
The
Tonkawa.
Tonkawa tracked them down. Tracked down the Quahota or whatever.
Yeah,
They
would
teamed up with America to track them down because they hated each other.
Yeah.
The tribes. So, yeah.
But it's kind of fucked up that we put them in these reservations, took away all of their means to defend themselves, and we're like, all right, thanks, guys.
Yeah, hey, grow some corn,
A
please.
little short-sighted, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
I
a
assume.
week
Yeah,
later,
no,
it's
definitely
woo!
was.
And
Yeah.
then everyone gets fucking
Yeah.
arrows in their heads.
And then meanwhile, we went
But
back.
not in a funny Steve Martin way.
Yeah.
In a very real Comanche way.
And then we went and just sold their land. They're just like entrepreneurs and stuff like that because people realized how valuable the buffalo was. So we just started. That's another reason why they had to give up too. Because I think during those years when there was all this feuding, there was also Americans killing the buffalo as well because they realized they could be
Right.
kind of made into high quality leather. So that was that was the Eskimo whale. So as the Comanche are trying to survive and fight back, we killed 5 million buffalo.
Yeah.
So we kind of depleted their whole life force. So at the end, they kind of had to give up.
Yeah. Yeah. Brutal. Let's just take a moment to think about that. Let that set in.
Yeah. They were killing buffalo as well.
Yeah.
From what I understand, doesn't matter. I don't know shit.
What do you understand?
Well, I think there's it's a bit of a myth that they used every piece of the buffalo, where in fact they would like run them off cliffs by
They
the
would run 'em
hundreds.
off
They would do
cliffs.
that.
And they would just explode. 'Cause of the
Yeah.
gas.
Well,
Yeah.
they used every part they could find
Yeah.
after the cliff.
It would suck to have that position. All right. Go
every
down there
part
and get
they
all the
peeled off their shirt after the explosion.
A guy takes off his glasses. It's the only part that
It
doesn't
does-
have buffalo on it.
So it just seems like buffalo are these like dumb meat sacks.
They
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
And they're slow.
Yeah,
So
what
even
a
if there's
good deal.
Yeah, I know. They really had the best type of food to hunt.
Yeah.
They kind of look dumb.
They had like
Oh,
free
yeah.
food
No
trucks that you
real-
just had to catch.
Yeah.
You just had to catch the food truck and disassemble it.
They're filthy, though.
With your lady
Yeah.
meat canics.
Have you seen a buffalo?
No.
I think I have from a distance for sure. Yeah.
Maybe in his zoo.
I think I've seen some buffalo up
Yeah.
close.
Cool.
Yeah. I killed one.
no,
Ran off
did
cliff.
it. No.
Yeah, I did.
You fucking did it.
I mean, in the book, they talk about the brains. Like I think they really did use every
Oh yeah.
part of it. Yeah, the sinew for bowstring and stuff.
Probably blew into the horn like you're about to do at the synagogue.
They
Yeah.
knew how to process it, but
They knew how to
they
process.
took the one, but there were 50 in the ditch still.
Yeah, how do you transport those back
That
too?
was
By the way,
I think
They
you
have a
make I
squad?
think you make a sled and attach it to your horse
wow.
out of a buffalo. I think you make a sled out of a buffalo hide. But how do you get the first buffalo? That's the real question.
Yeah, there had to be a couple of people for years where they were dragging it.
Yeah.
Like, oh my
God
god.
damn. Once
Yeah.
we get a good starter amount, then we'll
Yeah,
we'll really have
enough
this
for a
cooking.
buffalo sled.
Well, they were nomadic, right? So you didn't
Uh-huh.
really have a place to bring it back to.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But there had to be some sort of base camp where the
There were
ladies
base camps along rivers a lot. You'd see like mile-long stretches of their village for the few months they were there, of like women and children and stuff.
because they followed the buffalo. The buffalo
Yeah.
would migrate.
Yeah, and then whenever the dudes fought, it would always be just to cover the retreat of the women and children. So they would be packing up
Yeah.
basically, which is a very stressful.
Oh
you
my
know,
god.
you can't really be organized. You got to throw everything in a sack and
Yeah.
just get the fuck out.
Put in the buffalo.
Yeah, that's got to be tough when you get to your new camp and you're like, where the fuck is my comb? Where's my brush? God damn it. This is the second time this month we've had to just up and leave.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of transit.
A lot of transit. Yeah, their whole life was like commuting.
And then some guy finds the brush 200 years later, and it's like, my God, I'm going to the museum.
Yeah. It's Comanche spirits like, there it, under my rock.
Yeah.
The Macaulay Culkin brush left behind.
Yeah.
Anything else we got on the Comanches?
No, I think I kind of wrapped in the fun facts throughout. And, yeah.
Likewise.
Did you guys just research that? Or did you know?
Made it all up.
Did you
That's all
guys know
fake.
about this for a while?
No, Zach has been reading about it for a while, so I did some due diligence over the past few days to kind of, get up to speed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is audiobook. Highly recommend it. Empire of the Summer Moon.
Empire of the Silver Moon?
Summer Moon.
Summer Moon.
Summer Moon.
Okay.
The moon was very feared on the plains because in a full moon's light, the plains are all lit up, and so they called it a Comanche moon because they would often attack when it's like lightest at night.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Comanche moon.
night raids.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't kill
Another
a lot.
version of a Comanche moon is when a war chief would just show his ass to
Comanche mooned me.
to a general.
Yeah. Do you guys moon people growing up? I mooned.
I have a vivid memory of this kid, Tommy, when he was Greek and he's so hairy, and we were like on the bus one day, and he moons like somebody else out the window, and we were all struck by how much hair was on his ass. It was
wow!
It looked like a monkey ass.
Oh wow!
It was disgusting. Yeah, mooning is okay, but if you've got a bunch of hair, I think you should keep that to yourself.
Well, it's a more effective moon. Right?
It's certainly more
It's
disturbing.
a gross thing to
Yeah.
moon someone.
Yeah.
So the grosser the butt,
But you don't have so much hair that they don't even know it's a butt. I mean, I think they were like, "Does he show me his chest?"
wow.
It's a weird thing in the middle.
Yeah. He's got a concave. Interesting. Is that Steven Rogers?
Pecs are huge.
This guy's on steroids.
I told you about
No
the time.
nipples.
They're fully gone. He's ripped. He's blown his nipples
You
off.
do enough
Too
reps.
much muscle.
You do enough reps, you lose your nips.
I told you about the time I used to fart out the window because my girlfriend.
Oh, yes.
Couldn't. I
missed
thought
that apartment.
that apartment sucked. My old apartment, I used to, if I had to fart to be polite, because I had roommates as well that were like always in the bathroom, and I would like go in the bathroom and fart instead of farting in the room with my girlfriend. But if the bathroom was full, I would just open the window and put my cheeks up against the screen and fart out.
Pants off?
Yeah.
No way, dude.
Yeah. And my,
gotta be
my
illegal.
apartment was sidewalk. It was public
It
facing.
was like my apartment, first floor on the sidewalk.
Yeah. And one night I did that, and I just farted, but then I heard, "Oh my God!" And there was just a guy walking his dog, going bad.
That was bound to happen.
But this guy's walking his dog, and then to the right you see a screen open, a butt pressed against the screen, fart, and then the screen closes.
Was that for me?
Yeah, right.
You see the butt, and you're like, well, this is weird. This can't get any worse.
And then just like a cuckoo, like out of a clock.
Oh, it must be.
Go back in. Oh, it's 7:30.
I got to get home.
And then I just heard, "My God." And
My
I
God.
he audibly. It is kind of like I feel like when you walk past a weed club. I laughed for so long.
My God.
Can you imagine just being grown up, kind of a decent upbringing, and then you just have these windows in other people's lives, and so one of them is that much perverted from the norm.
Well, you move to Astoria too, because you're like, it's quiet, it's nothing really goes on here. And then you get a cheeks to the screen.
Oh man. I
Two
really,
cheeks to the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, it was one of the funniest things that I think I've ever done.
Yeah.
This
What
guy
did he say?
He either went, "Oh my God,"
The humanity.
or he went, "My God." But either way, he was alone with his dog. I think he had to have said "My God" when because he had to have smelt it at that point. You go, "Oh my God."
What, did he? So he saw the whole thing, probably.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
At least it was kind of filtered for him through the screen.
Yeah.
So he had a nice.
Yeah. Probably got a nice,
Yeah, right.
straight, pure tobacco.
Yeah. Nice Brita.
Yes. Now I have crazy neighbors. They're always. I had this lady.
Well,
the other day-
that's karma, buddy.
Yeah,
That's
I had a
what's
knock
gonna
on my
happen.
door the other day. This lady in a hospital gown
Whoa.
is like, you have to fix my electricity. And I was like, I don't think I'm the guy. She had a couple of crazy bracelets on.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, she's always in her underwear collecting cans. And then this time she had a psych ward outfit on.
Wow.
Barely on.
Sounds like Cynthia Ann trying to get back to her home.
Yeah, her boob was cut.
Trying to find her people.
She was bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
Story, I mean,
She
apartments.
had medical bracelets on?
Yeah, I mean, she was fully gowned out.
Dang.
Yeah.
Did two big dudes in white suits come in and were like, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Just take her away. Sorry to disturb you.
Yeah.
Wait, were you the guy?
Yeah.
Who?
Show me your ass.
All those
right
years
now.
ago? Yeah, let me see your ass real quick. Wait, can you do it through a screen?
It's the lineup. There's 5 butts, 1 screen. Everybody?
Usual suspects.
I think it was number 5. Like, no, but I think, I think that's all the Comanche stuff.
Yeah, Mike, do you feel like you learned?
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
you had a good time.
Yeah, I'd always heard this stuff, but I never heard the specifics.
Yeah, I mean, the specifics
Of,
are,
like-
are gruesome.
Yeah, well, indeed they are, but also the who, what, when, and where. I just heard, that the Native Americans fought and were pretty tough, but
And lost.
yeah, you hear that part, but then you also hear that it wasn't just a slaughter. It was kind of a long-waged campaign on both ends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is wild to me that they just had troops like drilling in these forts, but they would drill like they would in like, I don't know, like the Revolutionary War. Just like everyone marching in a line and then hup, hup, and turning at a 90-degree angle, and it's like that does nothing for you against mounted horse dudes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
does
Well, they would just
zero.
ride by and arrows, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you would think the guns would really level the playing field.
The guns eventually did. But at the time, they were like...
They weren't the best guns, and they're
Yeah.
also not the most accurate.
Yeah. And then these guys were just the best horsemen anybody.
Athletes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was kind of like high school going against Olympians.
Yeah,
They were so skilled.
until you gave the high schoolers a carbine.
Yeah.
Till you got
they
to
do.
modern high schoolers,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they could really go toe to
Yeah.
toe with Tulsi Gabbard. No, not Tulsi Gabbard. Simone Biles. There was another gymnast named Gabby.
Oh,
Gabby. Gabba.
yeah.
Petito?
Something.
Gabby. Yeah, I don't know.
Not Gabby Petito.
Who's Gabby Petito?
She was
She
killed
got
by her
killed.
boyfriend Brian Landry in a van
Oh, okay, that's the only Gabby that
around it.
came out. I didn't even know. I
That's the
forgot.
only Gabby I know.
That kind of is.
All right, we can wrap it up. Mike, thank you for coming down.
Thanks for having me and teaching me so much.
Yes. Hope it wasn't too much.
No.
Hope it was enough tainment,
Yeah,
not
but-
too much info. You know what I mean? Infotainment.
Oh, I'm delighted.
We try to-
I was
we try to strike a
delighted.
balance.
I was delighted and informed all throughout.
I feel like I put you on the spot and pressured you to say that, but I
Very
appreciate
well structured.
I appreciate
You did your
it.
research. I'm impressed.
we did do our research. And thank you for joining us. If
Thanks.
ever you want to come and you got a topic of your own you want to
Good idea.
let loose with,
Yeah, and then I would
Curtains,
do some
perhaps?
reading.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd be the authority.
you seem like a well-read man.
I got bits and enough. I got
You
enough.
got bits. You
but-
whipped out to Tocqueville. That's nothing to
I
sneeze
knew.
at.
I knew in that moment I would sound well educated.
You sure
but
did.
I did not read the entire book.
Yeah, it made the glasses make sense.
Yeah,
for
right.
just
right,
a second.
Exactly.
Well, Mike, where can the people find you? You got a special coming out, right?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now, but it'll be out in like a
I'm excited to
like
watch
a
it.
month. Hey, thanks,
Yeah.
man. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that one show together back home.
It was great.
Yeah, it was fun.
a good
It was
show.
fun. Yeah, they can find that on YouTube eventually.
You got a name?
Not yet. No.
Oh, okay.
Still stewing it.
Well, keep an eye out for
Not
Mike Earley's
giving you much
special.
info. Yeah.
Where? What about your Instagram? Your handles?
Yeah, Early _ Mike, but you just search for Mike space Early and I'll find-
Underspace. I like that. Never
Well,
heard
you
of an
know.
underspace.
What's that? An
Underspace. Underscore. Right?
Oh, I thought it was underspace.
I say score, but maybe
I
it's
like
space.
underspace.
I mean, you guys say pop instead of soda.
Underspace.
It could be a.
Underspace instead of score.
Yeah, you're a Westerner.
Underscore.
Yeah.
Underspace. Maybe I got it wrong.
I like underspace though. I think you
Underspace
should
is
start
good.
changing it
All
up.
right.
Yeah.
Early underspace Mike, Charles underspace Angle, and Zach Russell Comedy. No spaces, no unders. Overshadowed Underspace podcast on Instagram. Thank you guys for listening. Please give us a review. We need it. Apple, we're doing good. Spotify, for some reason, that community doesn't jive with our stuff. So go to Spotify and give us a nice 5 stars. If you had our Spotify rating as an Uber rating, people would decline your ride.
Really? Spotify's coming out.
Spotify's hard.
Spotify-
For podcasts.
I suppose Spotify. It's like 4 or 3.9 or something, which is kind of abysmal.
Even big podcasts don't put their most recent eps on Spotify.
Well, 3.9 means you've had more than several reviews, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, we have like 40 or something on Spotify, but Apple
40
is
reviews?
like 4.9 or something. Like Apple's a good, respectable rating. But
Yeah.
anyway, go review the podcast. We really need it. Go to Patreon, sign up. We got bonus eps and some riffs that don't make it on the podcast. Just some chit chats.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys for listening so much. We appreciate you, and we'll be back next week.
All right.